In the future, a soldier's most important piece of equipment will be his uniform. For the first time in history, weapons are no longer at the forefront of military research. The priority is protecting the fighter. The US Army is investing $50 million to develop a completely new kind of fabric. It'll be worn like a second skin. It'll camouflage and protect the soldier, and if necessary, it will save his life.
The leap ahead would be the nanotechnology, where we would hope that we would have one textile that could act as body armor all the time and weigh a fraction of what traditional body armor would weigh.
1/50th the thickness of human hair. The basic material the scientists will use to weave this bulletproof fabric. The science may be complex, but the idea is very simple. Microscopic particles of iron react instantly to a magnetic field. Thus, a fabric that contains them can change its characteristics in seconds.
So this special liquid, which is a magnetorheological liquid, in the absence of a magnetic field, has something in the consistency like a runny yogurt. But in the application of a magnetic field, it becomes the consistency of something like peanut butter. It has a yield stress. It's very difficult to push through. This lends itself quite well to perhaps making a dynamic body armor for soldiers, something which is soft and pliable and adheres to the contours of a soldier's shape when not in use. But in the incidence of a blunt object or a bullet, could become stiff as a board.
Thus, the firing of a bullet could lead to the creation of a magnetic field that would completely rearrange the molecules in the fabric, making it impenetrable. As if by magic, a soft material turns into armor plating. And the next step sounds even crazier. If the bullet does after all injure the soldier, then tiny artificial muscles in the uniform's fibers would go into action. Highly magnified, these fibers resemble small hinges. Their two wings are movable. Working together, they would apply emergency aid in the event of cardiac arrest and revive the soldier. And at the same time, the uniform would raise the alarm.
One of our greatest challenges is command and control of our soldiers inside the battle space. So we're building that next generation system, the future combat system, that will not only allow me to see where my soldiers are, but also share information with them, leveraging data from other soldiers or unmanned ground or air vehicles to provide reconnaissance and information to the soldier as fast as possible.
A satellite network would pick up the soldier's call for help and pass it on to the command center. The mission commander would immediately see the positions of all friendly and enemy soldiers on his screen. Camera drones would keep in contact with the medical teams to update them on the casualties' situation. Rescue missions like this could be routine within 20 years. But in 50 years, they may even be unnecessary, for the military and researchers are working to make soldiers completely invisible. One possible method is based on a very simple idea. Imagine that cameras were integrated into the uniform and the uniform itself were a display. The cameras could always project an exact image of the soldier's surroundings onto his body, and at the touch of a button, he could melt into his environment. As with a lot of military technology, this idea first came out of a storyteller's imagination.
The goal is to eventually get to what science fiction has told us from years past, is that the uniform becomes a mirror and you literally disappear inside the battle space. That would be something we'd hope to see in the 2050 timeframe.
The fourth industrial revolution will impact our lives completely. It will not only change how we communicate, how we produce, how we consume, it will change actually us, our own identity, and of course gives life to such policies and developments like smart traffic, smart government, smart cities. What we will see is that everything will be integrated into an ecosystem driven by big data and driven particularly by close cooperation also of governments with business, civil society, And this revolution will come at a breathtaking speed. It will be like a tsunami.
Like a tsunami in the fourth industrial revolution.
This is eSkin, a machine-washable electronic shirt containing 14 sensors and a Bluetooth application. And if you want one, it'll set you back $5,000 US. But developers are planning to launch a cheaper version, costing just a tenth of that. And this baby wear monitors infants' breathing as they sleep.
It's for 8-month baby.
For grown-ups, this stretchable shirt records their state of health. It also tracks body movements digitally so they can be used in virtual reality games. And with the 2020 Tokyo Olympics approaching, developers want to market them to professional athletes. Wearing one of these shirts could save lives too.
We have succeeded in plugged in much more variety of sensors, like a body temperature, or blood pulse, or ECG, or something like that. Once we can get this lots of data, so we can predict what kind of diseases they are going to have, and then that one can be predicting diseases. Yeah, that's what we are aiming at.
Smart clothing could be the future of fashion, especially in Japan, where the textile market is full of similar products. And developers hope this new type of fabric can be used in a variety of scenes, such as sports, healthcare, and gaming. At the University of Tokyo, researchers have developed this breathable wearable sensor that looks and feels like a henna tattoo. It's thinner than a human hair, but can track a user's exercise activity over a long period. They say it's important for a consumer to feel comfortable wearing a data gathering device.
Breathability is also important. So otherwise the attachment of sensors may cause irritation or inflammation. So if we can monitor the person's motion without the CCD camera, and then that may be used as the human-machine interfaces.
Major companies are also now looking to profit from this trend.
Which came from the restructuring of the textile industry in Europe. So we had to leave our path and go in new directions. So we went into functional textiles, protection textiles, and also in today's nanotechnology.
That move saw the group produce and trademark Nanosphere, a combination of chemicals that can be applied to clothing to make them virtually self-cleaning.
Nanosphere takes its blueprint from nature. That means we have plants in nature which have a kind of nanoscaled surface structure, and on these plants nothing can adhere.
And that vision and hard work ends up on this, a jacket that repels dirt and liquids such as ketchup, red wine, and even oils with just a little bit of water. The protective function of Nanosphere is retained after frequent use and numerous washing cycles, and the maker insists its technology won't even hit your bank balance.
These jackets or garments, they are not much more expensive than the normal price level of such garments. These kind of finishings do not have such an impact on the pricing of a garment.
In this beautiful Swiss setting, Schella textile scientists are working on their latest innovation, clothing that can essentially heal, soothe, and protect your skin. It's called iLoad, which stands for loading, release, washing, and reloading. What does all that mean?
iLoad is a textile technology where we put a kind of donor layer on the textile surface, which is capable to absorb active substrates, which can be discharged when wearing the textile.
In other words, if you suffer from dry skin, this product would slowly release moisturizer straight onto your skin. And best of all, when your clothing runs out of its moisturizer, you simply put it back into the washing machine, insert the special ingredients, and the clothing is reloaded with more moisturizer. Schella hasn't commercialized this product just yet, but when it does, its application looks endless.
We are actually looking on cosmetic applications, but in the future, definitely medical purposes are one part of the market.
In other words, in the future, even our medicines could be dispensed via our clothing straight into our skin.
Additional information, which you won't get in a live, because in a live I have to cover so many different things. Right, this blog post is about harvesting a human, okay, like I just explained, and using you as a source of power, okay? And as you can see, we're covering smart clothing, you know, aspects, components of the smart clothing. This will go into nanotechnology, biotechnology, clayotronics, metamaterials, sensors and electronics, smart fabrics, the interactive interfaces of them, energy harvesting and storage, smart fabrics. And then there's a video there which will go into a bit more detail based on what I've already written within the blog post. So you can watch that and get a bit more further information. Like as you can see on this picture, it's showing you the different amounts of heat that we emanate from our bodies based on the state and vibration that we're in. So as you can see, when you're in MVC, the heat maintained at the top of the head, where when you when you're angry, it obviously goes down to the stomach. That's relates to how you have, you know, tightenings in your stomach when somebody makes you angry. But then as you can see, you know, the loved one, it cover you, you know, happiness, you know, that means you emanating heat from all over. So it's worth watch that video as well. It goes a bit more in, it explains to you about how they're using the smart technology for health monitoring. You know, they're monitoring your health. That will come in with, like, you know, the NHS, or they're adapting all these new little technologies, you know, to monitor you. It goes into augmented reality. It goes into the adaptability, you know, how they're using it to adapt to changing environmental conditions, which fit in with their global warming, okay? And then we go into the kinetic energy. That's the one with your feet, where they harvest your energy through your footsteps. Now, there's a lot of places in Britain that's already implemented this. It's been going on, I think, since 2024 or 2012, sorry, I think, is the first one. But it is listed in here. You know, so explain to you about that. They've got it in London as well, Bird Street. So how it works is basically every time you step, like I said, it generates the power from you, and then it gets transferred into other ways to use the energy, like light up the street lights, etc. But the football stadiums, they've also implemented this kinetic energy. Not all football stadiums, but one of the largest ones around the world, I think that's Mexico. They've implemented it, and in Britain, we've had it in our football stadium. But the football stadium one, a bit more advanced, it can collect data from you. So this post goes into that as well. It'll explain to you how we are energetic beings, you know, how the human is a battery. So it'll go into that there with you. Then it'll give you an example here, you know, the nanotechnology clothing that they have out there from the people that make it. So they explain exactly to you, you know, how it comes together, you know, how it works, how it generates energy, how it stores the energy, and then how you can repump that energy into other things, like your wearable devices. So it goes into that. This is about the body heat, you know, because it's obviously they can generate from your footsteps and stuff. They can generate from the clothing, but they can also generate from the body heat that you emit within places, you know, such as nightclubs. There's a video on the channel which will show you that. I think the video is on here as well. It'll explain to you how the nightclub in Britain have been using this technology, and what they do, where you're all dancing and you're creating heat, they store that heat and then they use it for energy. But then in Sweden, because Sweden cutting edge, you know, they've been doing this a long time. And what they've managed to do, see, is harness your body energy from one of their stations and then transfer the energy over to the other station. So that's what makes them a little bit more advanced than what other people are currently doing. So I'll explain to you about that as well. And then they go into the powered shoes, you know, because there's also shoes that you can have which generate energy, and then it can be stored, so then you can then use it to power your apps and your devices, you know, your mobile phone, etc. And then it goes down to Hort, okay? Now, this is important because Hort 2012, now this is one of the elite colleges, okay? Now, what they must have given was a task to work out clothing and materials that could be used in order to harvest energy from the human. So, what they done, they put out a lecture, and this was the lecture. Now, everything in this lecture, the reason why I put it there is because it's 2012, like I said to you, but we're in 2023 now. And the fact that we're in 2023 now, and all these things that was once a concept of now become a reality, that's what makes the lecture so important. And the fact of where the lecture came from, you know? And like I said, it's an elite university. Right, and then it goes back into what I've mentioned there. I'm saying it goes back into it, it's just someone just got down to it, but I mentioned it to you. It's about the paving slabs and the kinetic energy, okay? Because it's a brave new world and they're using us like batteries. So it goes into that and it explains to you all the places, right? There's quite a few places in Britain that have implemented this energy harvesting through your footsteps. Now, one of the places, as you can see, there's Westfield London Shopping Centre. So there's the 2012, which I just mentioned to you earlier when I was like, oh, you know, it's 2012. That was Westfield London Centre, you know, shopping centre. And that was in Shepherd's Bush. And that's been there since 2012. So they've been energy harvesting people there from then. And then you move down, there's Stratford International Station, that's in London. They implemented theirs in 2015. Then we moved over to Bird Street, 2016. And then Southampton Football Club implemented theirs in 2017. And then Victoria Station in Manchester implemented theirs in 2019. Since 2019, not a lot really happened in Britain when it comes to this flooring that they've been putting out. But in between now, we've had the pandemic and all the other stuff. So they've been pushing ahead, you know, with everything else, because a lot goes into building an automated smart city. Okay. And then there's other places there, you know, the football stadium, which I said to you, I think it was Mexico, I said was the largest, that's there. They implemented it there in their stadiums. I'm not sure all of the dates for those ones. And then you've got Brazil. And then at the bottom, I've put who is PaveGen, and there's more details there where you can click, find out who they are and what they are. They're just cutting edge. They're the company that are at the forefront of implementing these technologies around the world when it comes to you step in and then it generates your energy. Now, on here, I've put the bits that they don't really advertise, and it's about more than just generating your energy. Because like I said, you know, they can generate your energy and then repower it into lights or into heating, you know, but there's been more to it because we're in the world now where data is one of the new goals. And what that means is basically I need to gather more than just energy from you. So what they do in their data harvesting as well, that can be done also using this same technology, which is the kinetic flooring. And then I just highlight the key points because not everybody like to read everything, but the site has been set up now. So if you don't read all that, you could just click play and it'll play it for you. And also is in any language around the world because the message is for all. So, one love everyone.